Welcome to the Gyrl podcast, the show where purpose meets inspiration. Each week, I sit down with incredible individuals who open up about their real life journeys, the wins, the setbacks, and the lessons in between. Whether you're navigating career moves, entrepreneurship, or personal growth, you're in the right place. I'm Kyra Mitchell Lewis, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's glow up together. Happy Thursday, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. I hope the week is going good for you. Let's go ahead and talk about today's guest and dive right on in. All right, so we are talking about love, loss, and healing, redefining relationships with my guest, Bryan Power. Bryan is a relationship coach and founder of Make Your Relationship Fail, where he helps individuals and couples navigate the complexities of love, attachment, and healing. With expertise in integrated attachment theory, Bryan provides tools for breaking toxic patterns, building healthy connections, and rediscovering intimacy after heartbreak. His candid, compassionate approach makes space for vulnerability, growth, and new possibilities in relationships. All right, let's dive in with Bryan. All right, welcome back, and let's welcome Bryan to the show. Welcome, Bryan.
Kyra, thanks so much for having me on your show today. I'm excited to be here. Love your show. Love what you're doing to help ladies and some men out there as well. Right? With the information that you're sharing, and really just honored to be here and share my story and some of the information I have about helping people have better relationships. So thanks for having me on the show today.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, well, let's just dive in. Let's talk about who you are and what has inspired the work that you do.
Yeah, so my name is Bryan Power. I'm a relationship coach. I teach integrated attachment theory, which is a program taught by Thais Gibson. Was created by Thais Gibson out of Canada. And really what it does is it helps us learn attachment theory first and foremost. We understand our attachment styles, but then it helps move us from unhealthy attachment styles to healthy attachment styles. And it is a program that really helped me put back together my relationship with my wife when we went through a crazy 2024. It was a program that allowed me to really get some tools that I never had before and try to understand how to have good, healthy relationships. And so I was excited to learn it. Decided I wanted to be a coach and actually help other people learn this now as well, because I truly believe there's nothing worse in the world than losing the person you love simply because you don't have the tools necessary to keep them. And so now I believe that I have a program that really can help us do that. And it certainly helped me help rebuild my relationship with my wife. We have an incredible relationship today after going through really a crazy 2024, which nobody ever thought we'd come back together. And not only did we come back together, we're now stronger, better, and healthier than we have ever been. So it's been a crazy journey.
Awesome. Well, first of all, love to hear that and congratulations. I'm so glad that you did the work and look at where you are now. So let's talk about attachment theory. So let's talk about, why do you believe it's such an important framework for understanding relationships?
Yeah, so in case anybody doesn't know, attachment theory's kind of been around since really like the 70s. And attachment theory is really it's a theory about how we attach in relationships. And there's four different attachment styles. Number one, you have a secure attachment style. That is somebody who really kind of has emotionally balanced, really knows how to communicate fairly well, knows how to set some good boundaries. They really just are kind of have it together in the relationship area, right? And so that's the one we all aspire to be like, where we just kind of enjoy our relationship. But if you break up with them, if things don't work out, they're also not over the top distraught about it. They feel the pain a little bit, but but they kind of accept that that's just the way life works. And sometimes maybe we're not supposed to be together, and they're just balanced, right? And you're just like, okay, that's where we want to be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think most of us fall into the other three categories, the unhealthy attachment styles. And number one, you have what's called an anxious, preoccupied attachment style. That is somebody, a lot of times they have a fear of abandonment, a lot of fear of being alone, feeling of unsafe or not good enough, is some big core wounds there. And a lot of times they really crave relationships. They really enjoy being connected, communication all the time. They're, maybe texting 10 times a day, where it becomes a little bit overboard. And it's just too much. A lot of times there's a lot of, codependency can be really in there, and it just becomes really unhealthy way to be in a relationship. On the flip side of that is what you have is called a dismissive avoidant. Dismissive avoidance, a lot of times they really isolate a lot. They really don't they really don't get in touch with their emotions too much, and when they do, they really pull away. They really want to isolate, be alone. They need to process a lot by themselves. You'll see they may get close for a little bit, but then they're going to want a lot of space. A
Mhm.
lot of times their communication style is dealt with their actions, not so much verbally. So sometimes communication is tough with them because they think they're communicating by their own actions, but a lot of times we need some verbalization. We need to understand what's going on there. So that could be a challenge. And obviously, if you see the two in a relationship together, you can see where that dynamic could really be challenging if somebody's looking for space and the other person's really trying to get close and connect.
Right.
And now those wounds are being triggered. That's where my wife and I landed, where we were kind of, in that dance, if you will,
Mhm.
and that gets really painful and hard. In between those two categories is what's called fearful avoidant. A fearful avoidant tends to swing between the two, so they have a lot of different wounds, and those wounds kind of lean both ways. And so sometimes they may feel really close one week and things are great, but then maybe their wounds come up, and now they're feeling of being trapped or betrayal. A lot of trust issues there are difficult.
Mhm.
So maybe next week they're pulling away for almost no reason, maybe even breaking up with you, and you're just like, This is kind of crazy, right? It's a little chaotic, a little all over the board." And what I learned with these things, though, for the most part, is it's just that it's these subconscious wounds that we have developed over the course of our lives, mostly through childhood. The early years, especially the first 7 years of a child's life, are really vital. And so we've developed a certain pattern, a certain way of thinking and seeing things, and that we perceive the world and relationships to be like. And through our childhood, we've just developed these wounds, and now they kind of helped us survive through childhood. But now into our adult lives, these unhealthy patterns are now how we interact in relationships, and now they become a real problem. And now that's why we're struggling. And all of a sudden, we're going from loving somebody and things seem great, but then a year, 2, 3 years, 5 years later, relationships fall apart because we don't really know how to do that. We don't
Mhm.
understand our wounds are playing a big factor in all this stuff.
Mhm.
And ultimately, a lot of times our relationships will break up and end in failure, if you will, which is what my wife and I experienced. We went from having a pretty good relationship
Mhm.
with some issues, but nothing over the top. All of a sudden, our wounds just continued to progress. And eventually, they crescendoed into a crazy 2024 where we would actually end up I would actually end up with a restraining order against me for emotional safety. Never threatened my wife physically, but her emotional safety, she just was so emotionally, we were both so emotionally unbalanced and clashing that she just reached for that tool, if you will. And that kind of, I
Mhm.
thought, ended the relationship. But I was very fortunate that a lot of the work we were doing would ultimately pay off and allow us to come back together and put it back together in a really positive way. But
Mhm.
that's how much I learned about attachment theory and how powerful these things can be, and the subconscious can really kind of, affect our relationships.
Mhm. Right. Thank you so much, for
Yeah.
sharing that. Yeah, because I think a lot of people just don't realize that it's the things of the past that repeatedly come up, and those are the things that hold us back in our like current relationships. And it's just so weird, where it's like, well, like you said, you have the person who's this week they're like okay and they're loving and they're like, yes, I'm in, and then next week they're like, I hate you. Like, get out of here. um you know
Yeah.
and it's just at some point, it's like it will never work if you can't heal or if you don't work toward
Yeah.
healing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what do you see are common patterns with we're gonna talk women here, that women repeat in relationships that often hold us back from the love that we say we want?
Oh boy, that's a great question. I mean, I think it's for both sides really, but yeah, talking to ladies, I would say a lot of ladies are probably more that anxious, preoccupied, tend typically, not always, but
Mhm.
they tend to be that one that wants to connect, really wants to communicate a lot,
Mhm.
over the top, maybe too people pleasing, really don't know how to set their own boundaries and kind of do that, and they fall into these really bad patterns. Again, I think it's just the wounds of feeling unloved, unwanted, not good enough, and now they're overbearing and maybe becoming too much involved in the relationship to the point where they forget about themselves.
Mhm.
And a lot of times they're giving too much to the relationship and they really abandon themselves. Because of that fear of abandonment, if you will, that's a big one. And fear of abandonment,
Right.
they tend typically abandon themselves so that they can stay in the relationship and put that focus too much there. But yeah, I think a lot of times too, I think it's such a hard, I mean, listen, there's so many issues, right, between men and women. I think we're all dealing with a lot of our own battles. And a lot of
Mhm.
men today have their own issues as far as, I was raised by a single mom. I didn't have a father show me how to be a man. And I think a lot of guys aren't being shown how to be a real man these days. And so
Mhm.
we're having our own struggles. And so we need a lot of compassion, a lot of maybe a little extra TLC, but also we need to, as a female, I think it's important to set your boundaries too and say, hey, yeah, these are certain boundaries that I expect you to be able to obtain and kind of respect, if you will. But also be a little bit encouraging to your men, also be a little bit forgiving and kind to them, because I think a lot of us do need, unless that guy's just a flat out jerk, if you will. But I mean, if a guy's really trying and really trying to do his
Mhm.
best, I think we do need a lot of extra TLC sometimes, and we didn't get growing up. I just think we have so many issues on both sides, but yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. No, I thank you for that because I do feel like it, yeah, on the side of women, like women just love really hard and it's like, I want this to work. So like you said, it's like a lot of times people lose themselves to relationships. And a lot of times you see it too, like, it starts like in the relationships, but when people get married, like they just completely sometimes women just become like their marriage and they have like it's like, I mean, are you still a person? Like, can you still do you still love the things that you used to love? Like,
Yeah,
and I think what you said, what is super important and most important is the boundaries. It is establishing like what you will stand for and what you won't stand for and what's important to you, what lines won't be crossed for you. And it doesn't mean like you're being mean. I think sometimes people think, oh, I'm setting a boundary. That means I'm being mean to somebody. No, it's just you honoring yourself and also that person as well, because there's just certain lines that maybe they shouldn't cross that, will make them feel, weird about something, will make you feel weird. And ultimately, it won't like both people will be like, have the ick about whatever
yeah,
they're in. So I think that's really important. And I like also what you said too. It's like having that grace, as a woman for your partner, because now I'm not putting you all in the basket, but
right.
there are some men who are less likely to be like sort of emotionally able to like communicate or give or be vulnerable, like women are most of the times. And a lot of times you have to give grace to that person so that they know that it's okay if I open up. Because I love what you said. It's like you talked about like sometimes when men don't have like a male figure to sort of show them how to, evolve into from a boy to a man. But in some cases, on the other side, it's like, some men think that, oh, showing emotion or showing vulnerability means like I'm not a man. And so you sort of have those struggles
Yeah.
on
Well,
like both sides, right?
yeah, a lot of guys typically, again, probably lean more to the dismissive avoidance side where they are more
Yeah.
isolated. They do, keep their feelings inside and, boys aren't supposed to cry and all this tough
Mhm.
guy stuff. And that's fine. I'm all for tough guy stuff. Like, but at the same time, it's okay to be vulnerable. And that's something that they need to learn. And again, their wounds are they're setting them in a pattern so that you're right. They don't know how to open up and they're not able to sometimes. A lot of times people say, well, if they could, they would. And the truth is they can't, their wounds won't allow them to until they really get
Mhm.
in tune with it, until they really learn about themselves, begin to heal their own wounds, and then feel more comfortable, safe, confident to be able to open up and relax and feel like, hey, you know what, I can connect, I can come out and
Mhm.
show my emotions and be safe and not feel like they're under attack, not feel like that's a big negative thing.
Yeah.
So that just takes some practice, that takes some learning, that takes some time, but it is possible. And when we do get there on both sides, it's really that's where the amazing, the amazing
Mhm.
stuff happens. Yeah, that's where the magic happens when both sides get to the healing. We're both able to really be there. That's when the real magic happens.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I love that what you said, to feel safe, because they have to know people have to feel like they have a safe space to be able to open up, and you won't make fun of them, you won't, berate them, you won't use it against them later in a conversation. So
yeah.
I think that's really important. How can we start to sort of you recognize, and break the cycles of unhealthy attachment?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the integrated attachment theory program that I teach because that's the one that I think really does a great job of setting us apart. And I learned a lot about this stuff. I came across integrated attachment theory about a month before my relationship ended with the restraining order stuff. And I was fascinated by the attachment theory, that program that opened up my eyes. Really great video by Thais Gibson, Thais Gibson, on YouTube. She does a podcast with Mel Robbins, about an hour and 15 minutes long. I challenge everybody to go watch this video, and it will really do a really great job of explaining the attachment styles for you. And when you start to see that, you'll go, wow, I can see myself here. I can see my partner there. This starts to make some sense. And then from there, I actually took it a step further, joined the personal development school, which is Tice Gibson School, and again, learned the integrated attachment theory program, which is the 6 core elements that begin to heal us and move us towards the secure attachment style. So number one, you have your core wounds. Those are the subconscious patterns that we're telling ourselves. So let's just say for me, I had a big fear of abandonment from my childhood. My parents were divorced when I was born. My father battled addiction. We moved around a lot. My father was in and out of my childhood. So abandonment was a big one for me. And so that fear of abandonment subconsciously is driving, my relationships in a certain pattern, a certain way that I didn't even recognize and realize I was doing. 95 to 97% of our decisions are made by the subconscious. And the conscious cannot outwill or overcome the subconscious. So even though consciously I think one thing, the subconscious wounds are driving the bus, if you will, a different way. All right. So, and I can't just think myself through that. I actually have to heal that subconsciousness, or I'm just naturally going to gravitate towards a certain pattern, and that's what happens. So we have to heal the core wounds. Number two, your needs. You have to really understand, learn what your true needs are, what's really important to you, what do you really need in life to feel fulfilled, and then learn to fulfill those on your own. Not looking to outsource your partners and other people in your life, because the more we outsource our needs, the less control we have, right? And the less likely they're going to get met. So we have to try to meet our needs as much as possible on our own. Number three, we have to learn about our emotions. Okay, what are our emotions telling us? Okay, emotions are just information. So if I'm angry about something, what am I angry about? Not just I always use a cup on the counter. Say, let's just say my wife doesn't, put the cup off the table and bring it into the kitchen, put it in the sink. Now, if I'm flying off the handle over that, like, oh my God, nobody does the dishes, nobody puts, is it really about the cup not getting to the sink?
Right.
No, it's really something deeper. And it may be something more like, I feel disrespected. I feel unloved. I feel unheard. I feel, just misunderstood. Without all these other things subconsciously, that's what's causing the emotions to now arise. And so I have to learn that and then fix that a little bit and realize, okay, wait a second, this is just a wound that's being triggered, and it's not really necessary. It's not healthy anger there. If somebody
Right.
is attacking me, then I might need to get a little angry. That's something where I may need to defend myself. But if it's just a matter of like little things like that, and I'm getting really hyped up about it,
Right.
that's typically a subconscious wound, if you will. So we need to figure that out. Number four is your boundaries. We talked about that. I always say the boundaries are like a fence around the house, and we're the house. Well, the fence is going to protect the house. And so that's how I teach people, hey, you want to get through the gate, you got to this is how you get through the gate. And if people just want to jump over the fence, then we got a problem, right? So I need to fix that. So I need to make sure that I have healthy, good boundaries, not be boundaryless, but also not be so extreme on the boundary side where it's unhealthy as well. But just good, healthy boundaries, learn how to, set those, and then learn how to convey those. And then again, make sure that people are kind of respecting that. Number five was a big one for my wife and I, certainly for me, is communication. How do we communicate in a way that actually moves the needle? Because so many times before, my wife would try to talk to me, and I was, because of my own wounds, was listening to defend myself. I was never really listening to understand her and hear her heart, her passion, what she was trying to share with me, because my own fears wouldn't allow that. I was always feeling like she was attacking me, and so I was going to defend myself and tell her why she was wrong. And so now, and that's what we just talked about early on, right? Is that a lot of times, guys, that's how we listen. We listen to defend. We're not listening to truly understand our partners. And that's where, again, some safety comes in, and love and safety and some of that stuff. But then just having some practice with that. And my wife and I now, we'll just look at each other for 5 or 10 minutes. She'll get to speak for 5 or 10 minutes uninterrupted. And now I'm listening to learn and understand her. So I just shut up, because I was notorious for jumping on top of her, right? So now I just don't say anything. I listen, I let her speak, and I just want to listen to her. And then I get to go for 5 or 10 minutes, share my thoughts on the subject that's important to both of us. And now we're both listening to learn and understand each other. And at the end of a situation like that, boy, it moves the needle a lot. We both feel a lot more understood, a lot more heard. We actually have maybe a solution that we can move forward on.
Mhm.
Sometimes we need to revisit that discussion, but what a different way to do it compared to standing in the living room, arguing over something that's,
Yeah.
nobody's listening to each other, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Just
terrible. But
talking over each other.
yeah, that was a huge one for me and for us really, and I think it's a big one for everybody. But and number 6, excuse me, is our behaviors. How do I change my behaviors? How do I act in a way that's as a man is becoming of a man, right? And not flying off the handle over those simple little things, and learning how to do things that are more admirable. So you can look and say, wow,
Mhm.
that's a guy who really knows how to handle himself. I don't do the emotional triggers, and like I said, for me, a lot of times if I get emotionally triggered now, I may say, "Hey, you know what? I just need to get out for a little bit. I'm gonna grab my sneakers. I'm gonna walk.
Mhm.
I'll go for a walk for an hour, hour and a half, whatever it takes to kind of get my emotions to a point where I'm feeling pretty good. And once I get there, I not feel it, man. I'll be walking, and then next minute I'll be like, okay, now I finally feel good. It's like something overcomes you, and then now you can go back in the house, feel okay. Now I can have the discussion if we need to, and not feel, hyper emotional about it. And it's just a different way to do it, right? And so when we
Mhm.
start to learn different behaviors, coping mechanisms, that begins to really move the needle as well. When you do all 6 of these things, to me, it's life changing. It's relationship
Mhm.
changing. It's life changing. And I love the fact that you can work on one thing here, and maybe I need a little more help. This, oh no, I need to see I need help here. Okay, I'm doing better on communication, but maybe I forgot to set some
Yeah.
boundaries. And so there's different things we can go on with that. But to me, that was a game changer program, and I really
Mhm.
love the way that works for me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think everything you said is great. And you're right. I love that you also said that at the end that you can work on different things. You can work on all 6 things and they don't have to be perfect, right? Like you're always just kind of like might be strong here and you might be great at building the boundaries up from the start. And then you're working on communication. But I think like just from you giving real life examples of like how you're like, you know what? Let's just take a pause. I'm gonna go take a walk. And I think that's important because they think a lot of times people feel like they can't say to the person, like, you know what, actually, let's just time out. I'm gonna go off for a walk and then I'm gonna come back. And then we're gonna talk about it. Because I know a lot of times people are like, nope, don't you leave. Let's talk about it now. No.
On the flip side of that, though, it's important that we tell our partner, "Hey, I'm not feeling this isn't a good time for me to talk about this. I do want to
Right.
revisit this discussion because it is important to me, but right now I'm feeling a little bit off, a little bit emotionally charged here. I want to just get myself to a better position so we can talk about this."
Mhm.
If you just grab your shoes and walk out the door without saying that,
Yeah.
then your partner thinks, "Oh, that person doesn't care. That person's not
Yeah.
interested in this conversation." So that's where it's really important to learn these little things that can
Yeah.
really make a difference.
Communicate.
That's right. How do we do that though in a way that it really does help? And that's
Yeah.
the key, right? Yeah.
Yeah, communicate, don't run, just
Right.
just communicate first, and
Yeah.
then you can run.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so you've said that healing after heartbreak is both emotional and practical. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I think the first step is healing these wounds I talked about, that
Mhm,
subconscious, boy, when you start to heal those wounds, you start to really set yourself free, you start to feel better on a daily basis. And then just again learning some of these tools, you start to feel confident about how to have a
mhm,
relationship, and you start to feel good about your relationship. You start to feel like, you know what, I know what I'm doing here, and I know how to keep a good relationship, together, and we have some tools that make things work, and we're gonna be okay here. That feels pretty darn good.
mhm,
And that's the emotional side of that. And then I just think practically, like obviously that really spills into every area of your life. If my relationship at home is good, then I'm not stressed out as much at work and other things I need to do, or if I'm visiting friends, I can focus and be in the moment and not feel like,
mhm.
everything else is in the
Yeah,
background, in a negative state and stuff. It just really frees up your whole life, in so many ways. And physically, physically, the body really lets go of a lot of that stress. A lot of times we're
mhm,
dealing with this stuff, and it's all subconscious wounds, and our body is holding on to stress that we don't even realize. And so once you begin to heal this, your body will then also begin to heal and move in a direction that is really incredible. I feel better today. In fact, today I woke up today, I'm like, this is the best I have felt in a long time. And it feels pretty darn good, just to feel good. But it's amazing how much the body will, the mind and these wounds will affect your physical body as well. So all that stuff works together when you start to really do the work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can you share a story, maybe from someone you've worked with, or where you've seen them shift from toxic relationship patterns into a healthier, more fulfilling connection?
Yeah, I mean, I have several that are doing very well, moving forward in a good direction. I have a good friend of mine though who's really come kind of what I went through, and him and his wife were extremely on the negative side. Ended up separated for a year and a half,
Mhm.
and now have within the last 2 months they've been able to put it back together. And through a lot of his own healing, his own work, and hers as well, they're now having a pretty darn good relationship, and yeah, they're moving the needle in a way that is amazing. And mine was about 4.5 months where we had a break. To go almost 16 months really separated like that, and he had a
Mhm.
restraining order as well. They had a lot of difficulties. He came from a lot of difficult childhood and some of those things too. And so all those wounds played out in their lives. And again, through a lot of the healing work and time and willingness to work at that, they're now back together and doing pretty well. So it can happen. It absolutely can happen.
Mhm. Awesome. Now, speaking of, since you said that person was a friend, what role does community and support play in relationship recovery?
Yeah, I think it's important to have a good team behind you, but
Mhm.
but a good team that will be compassionate, but also truthful with you.
Mhm.
We don't want yes men. Yeah, we don't want people to tell us
Yeah.
what we want to hear. We want people that will share the truth with us and say, hey, you know what, you need to look at this for yourself. Like, and
Mhm.
that's some of my friends. My friends would be honest with me and be like, hey, bro, you know what, you may want to look at that. That's an issue. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know. Like, so I do think it's really important to have a good team. I was fortunate enough when things started to go south. My mom was really there for me, my brother. And I had a good friend of mine was there for me almost anytime I needed. I can call him anytime, and I'm good friends with my ex girlfriend actually still, and she was a big support because she knew me well from the years that we had been together. She was able to really point out some, share with me, some of the faults and stuff, and really kind of be there, and but just was great, and that was a good team for me. And then yeah, I was still seeing a therapist.
Mhm.
I was also listening to a ton of videos, doing all this work, and all that combination really just helped. Try to do this alone can be very difficult. And if you're just going at it alone, you might get there, but you're going to take a long time. You're going to make a lot more, I think, mistakes. You're going to trip and fall a lot
Mhm.
more. You need to surround yourself with people you trust, people that you can say, man, all right, I trust this person. I may not like what they're saying, but I'm going to listen to
Right.
what they're saying because I value their
Mhm.
opinion. And I think they're probably telling me the truth, even though I may not like what I'm hearing right now. And then you can figure that out, and go down the road and say, okay, you know what you told me a year ago, yeah, I finally applied that and it's working. I wish I'd have listened to you. But sometimes he goes that route, but listen to
Some
yeah,
sometimes it takes us a little time.
yeah, it takes some time, but surround yourself with a good team for sure. That's important, and yeah, get
Mhm.
yourself with some good people. That helps a lot.
Yeah, awesome. Can you tell us about the tools and your programs or resources that you offer and how people can work with you?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna work with me, the easiest thing to do is go to my website. It's Make Your Relationship Fail or myrelationshipfail.com. Either one works. Takes you to the same website. I challenge you to join our email club, and you'll be able to take the attachment theory test. All right, so you'll be able to know what your attachment style is right away, which is a real fun thing to do. And then I suggest that you join the personal development school also from my website. That is Tice Gibson School, and in there is a treasure trove of videos, workbooks, things you can really start to listen to, learn from at your own pace, your own time. So, and it's just an easy, great way to get started. I'm going to give you a free session. I want you to call me. I want to set up a time where we can chat. I love to hear your story. I want to hear what you're going through and see if I can point you in the right direction and give you some ideas on how to move forward. If you decide you want a coach on your side, I'm happy to be your coach as well and see if we can really move the needle as fast and furiously as possible, especially if you're in a really bad spot right now and struggling through that. I've been there. I know what that's like. I can help navigate that with you, and we can get you to a better spot, hopefully a lot quicker than you having to do this alone and fight through that because it's really tough. But those are the things I think the easiest. Just start off at
Mhm.
my website and play around there. Again, set up a session with me. Let's chat, take the test, join the school. Let's get this thing going.
Yeah. All right. If we've got somebody listening, say a woman's listening today and she's feeling stuck in the same patterns, painful patterns, and she's thinking, okay, I'm going to go to your site, I'm going to start. But is there anything else, like another step she could just take today that feels like a positive step toward change?
Yeah, I mean, I always say go watch the video for Thais Gibson's. That's an easy one. YouTube.
Mhm.
Thais, Thais Gibson on the Mel Robbins podcast, and learn about attachment theory. That's a great one. But other than that, yeah, just it just takes some practice, some work. It does take a little effort to just make some change today. The easiest thing you could do sometimes is maybe like I did is just I would start just by walking and putting on my sneakers and going for a walk and getting myself more emotionally regulated as much as possible. If you're emotionally charged, certainly if you're in the middle of a breakup or things are really hard and you're kind of at that emotional, difficult state, you have to find something that can help get you there. So whether it's a yoga class, whether it's hiking, whether it's walking, whether it's swimming, something where you can get out and really get yourself away from the moment a little bit and let your
Mhm.
body finally get back into a regulated state. Because trying to do anything when you're dysregulated emotionally is really the hardest thing. It's impossible. You're not going to move the needle until you get to the emotional regulation. Once you're more emotionally regulated, then you can really start to I think move. So that's the first I think thing to do is get yourself emotionally regulated. And I think that's starting off is maybe again just go for a walk. That's the easiest one. Put your sneakers on and go outside. If there's nothing else, if you're like, hey, I don't have a car to get anywhere, or I don't have a swimming pool or anything, I don't belong to a gym. Okay, you can at least get outside and walk and just walk until you feel better. And I would do that. I was doing that a lot in the beginning when things were really going south for me. I was just literally putting my shoes on and walking for an hour, hour and a half. But it made a difference. It made a huge difference in being able to get myself, feeling a lot more regulated. So that's a big one I think you could do immediately.
Awesome. Love that. I love that. All right. So, make sure everyone that you check out Brian's website and just tell us your website one more time.
It's Make Your Relationship Fail or myrelationshipfail.com. And I just want to make sure everybody knows it's not about making your relationship fail, right? That's a play on words. We're having fun with that. But the idea is that sometimes failure is a missing ingredient to actually having a better relationship. And when we're in the middle of a breakup, I always say they call it a breakup, not a breakdown. So if we're breaking up, we're going to level up from this experience. So I want you to have some hope. I want you to understand that you're not broken up because things were perfect. You're not broken up because it was the magical relationship that you think in your head it was. No, you're broken up because it's broken. But now you have a chance to fix some things. And now you're
Mhm.
being given a gift. It is a chance and opportunity to learn about yourself, to learn how you can do better and figure some of this stuff out so that now you can have a really good, healthier, better, positive relationship. Whether it's not your spouse comes back to you and you're able to do that together, or if for some reason that relationship does end and it doesn't come back around, you're at least putting yourself in a better position and somebody will come back into your life. And now you're going to have all these wonderful tools that will allow you to have a really great relationship. So even if you didn't do the work and your spouse came back together, you're probably going to end up with the same problems. Okay. So
Mhm.
if you're broken up, take the time. If you're in this difficult, take this time, do the work. And I promise you, things can only get better no matter what. It always gets better so long as you do the work, you take the time necessary. So, but Make Your Relationship Fail was born out of that idea that sometimes it does take that breakup to motivate us
Mhm.
to change, right? Because a lot of times we don't change until the pain is great enough. And
Yeah.
so, when it's there and you're broken up and you're in this pain, that's the time to really, use that for great motivation. And I always talk about a super ball. The harder and faster a super ball hits the ground, the higher a super ball will bounce. And I like to think of myself as a super ball that's going to bounce
Mhm.
really high because I've hit the bottom pretty hard and fast. And so I'm just on my way up to the top. So you can be too, but it just takes
Mhm.
some time, catch your breath. It's going to be okay.
Awesome. I love that. All right, so we will make sure we drop those links in the show notes. All right, now we're going to transition into three things with Brian. I'm going to ask you three questions that just helps our audience get to know you a
All
little
right.
bit better. All right, the first one is a two-part question. It is how do you start and end the day?
For me, it's about prayer. I'm just a prayer. I get on my knees and say, "Thank you, God, for this day, and please teach me, please help me get through this day, and open my mind to what you have for me today, and just be there and help me get through and honor you and with my life." That's kind of my thing. I'm a man of God, right? So, and then at the end of the day, I just thank you for for doing all that stuff. I say, "Thank you, God, for letting me get through this day, and thank you for all that I've been experiencing, how blessed I am. I'm truly blessed. I have an incredible life today." And every day is a blessing. And I say gratitude is the attitude. Gratitude can go a long way. When we're grateful for just the breath in our lungs, everything else is gravy.
Yes.
So that's my thing is I just pray for more gratitude every day.
Awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. All right, number two is now, so when we air this, it'll be early January. So we'll be in the new year, and let's talk about a goal or intention that you are planning to set for
Well,
yourself.
I am super excited. Actually, I've decided to do my own podcast coming into 2026. I'll be launching it's the My Relationship Fail podcast. And we're looking right now for Valentine's Day as a launch day. So I'm excited to bring on some guests that can talk about their relationships and how they went through failure and learned and things that they learned. And we're gonna have some, really great guests, maybe some professionals, people like
Mhm.
Tice Gibson. Hopefully, I'd love to have her on, right? That can talk
Yep.
about how to really heal relationships. It's going to be all relationship based. And I just, because to me, this is such a big problem. I think so many of us struggle in this area. And I just want to help as many people as possible. I'm truly on a mission for this. This is like a mission from God, if you will, that, it's all I want to do. I want to just reach out and help people, not go through the pain, not have to deal with some of the suffering that having these difficult relationships
Mhm.
can cause. It's really, really painful when we don't know how to have healthy, good relationships. And so yeah, I'm starting my own podcast and I'm super excited about that.
Awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank
Can't
you.
wait to hear it. All right. And the third question is, where are you currently finding inspiration?
Yeah, I think I just mentioned a little bit. My inspiration is number one from God, but like, it's the opportunity to help others. I love contributing and being a positive, influence or something on other people's lives. I was in the fitness
Mhm.
business for almost 20 years and I really enjoyed getting people physically fit, right? But now
Mhm.
I feel like I'm here to get people more emotionally fit and more relationship fit.
Mhm.
So I had that coach mentality of just wanting to help push people and I know you can do this and do a better job. And I'm just motivated, like I said, to help as many people avoid the heartbreak because again, there's nothing worse in the world than you losing the person you love simply
Mhm.
because you don't have the tools necessary to keep them. And I want you to get some tools so you don't have to go through that pain. So I'm motivated. Let's do it.
Yes. All right. Well, Brian, thank you so much for coming today. I really have enjoyed the conversation and the work that you're doing. And I'm going to ask you one last question before I let you go today. And it is, what are three things you'd like for the audience listening or watching to take away from our conversation today?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is, again, if you're in a really tough spot, I promise you, I don't care how bad it looks in your relationship. I want you to know that things can turn around. Focus on what you need to do, though. Focus on the work. Let it go a little bit. Forget about the outcome, and know that there's just hope, and that you know that you're going to be okay. We just don't know how that ends. A lot of times, I didn't know that my wife would come back to me. I did the work to let her go, and as I let her go and did the work, God just brought it back around, and since then we've been able to work on this, but. The key is to just focus on that. Number two, I think there's answers. I want you to understand. I think the integrated attachment theory program is a great place to get some answers and learn how to get the tools that you've probably been looking for your whole life, wondering how you're struggling. Well, how do you fix this problem? I think integrated attachment theory is a great program to do that. And I guess last but not least is I don't know. Find your purpose like me. Find some motivation. Get yourself to a good spot where you're feeling pretty happy. Yeah, I'm a man of God. You'll look for God if you really if you're down and out. I truly believe that God is there and He wants to answer you and be friends with you. He wants to have a relationship with you. So, don't be afraid to go to a church and figure out this stuff and really get in tune with it all because I think the more we do that, the more fulfilled we feel, and we start to realize that life isn't so difficult. We make it difficult a lot of times because of our own wounds and our own stubbornness or our own problems. But anyway, those are I guess three quick things that I'd like to say to you guys. So
Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It has been a joy conversating with you today, and you can always come back here in the future.
oh, Kyra, that's a pleasure. I tell you, I love your show. I love what you do. You're very professional too. The paperwork you sent me early on before we got on here is like nobody does that, and so I was very impressed with that. You really do a great job overall. So thanks so much for having me today, and yeah, thank you. So I'd love to come back sometime. Thank you.
Awesome. Stay tuned, everyone. All right. Well, welcome back. And let's thank Brian for joining the show today. Make sure you check out all the links in the show notes for where to find him and connect to him. Also, make sure you check out his podcast launching in February as well. All right, you want to know more about Glow Up Girl? Make sure you visit glowupgirl.com. You can sign up for our newsletter to get tools, insights, and inspiration for your glow up journey. All right, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are at Glow Up Girl, and wherever you're listening, don't forget to rate, review, share. It just helps more people find the show. And if you're sharing on social, make sure you tag us so we can cheer you on. All right, so if you are a person who's thinking this is the year I'm going to do more speaking, I'm going to do more podcasts, I'm going to show up for myself in the world, but you're not quite sure what that story should look like, you might want to check out Story Labs. Story Labs is a place that I've created that will help you to really figure out like how to tell your personal story. So it's an hour and a half session where I listen, you talk. There's a pre-work worksheet where you kind of start to outline your story or just some thoughts, but I take it, synthesize it, and turn it into your Story Lab snapshot, which helps you to figure out like, what is that pitch? How do I pitch myself? If you've got a website and you're thinking, what needs to go on my About Me page? I will help you with all of that. So make sure you check it out. It's Story Labs, and it's also on our Glow Up Girl website. All right. So also, we're taking sponsorship. So if you're looking to partner with a community of women chasing a big dreams, reach out. hello@glowupgirl.com. All right. Also, if you are looking to be a guest on the show, you know someone who you think would make a good guest, make sure you visit the website and check out the Be a Guest area and submit your information there as well. All right, that is all, my friends. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen in and spend part of your day with me. So I will see you all next week. Until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.